A young woman vanishes after a night of partying at a Miami nightclub, only to be discovered hours later in one of the most disturbing ways imaginable. Her body, burned beyond recognition, lay in a dumpster miles from where she was last seen alive. Nearly 16 years later, her killer still walks free. How did Paula Sladewski's dream vacation turn into a nightmare that has haunted investigators ever since? What happened in those missing hours between the club and the flames?
I don't know how she died. I don't know. I want to know before I die. I want to know.
In the early morning hours of January 3rd, 2010, 26-year-old Paula Sladewski walked out of club space in Miami, Florida. Surveillance footage captured her final moments as a free woman, escorted toward the exit by club staff, a shadowy figure trailing close behind. By that afternoon, firefighters would be called to extinguish a blaze in an industrial area over 10 miles away. Inside that burning dumpster, they found Paula's remains, so severely charred that only her dental records could confirm her identity. The brutality of her death shocked even seasoned detectives. But what made this case even more haunting was the complete absence of answers. No witnesses came forward. No surveillance cameras tracked her movements beyond the club doors. And the person responsible seemed to vanish into the Miami night as thoroughly as Paula herself had. Paula Angela Sladewski was born on November 15, 1983, in Garden City, Michigan. From her earliest years, she possessed a magnetic quality that drew attention wherever she went. Her older sister Kelly, 14 years her senior, remembered Paula's childhood obsession with beauty and glamour. Even as a toddler, Paula would raid Kelly's makeup collection, painting her face with lipstick and eyeshadow, lost in her own little world of make-believe. She collected hundreds of Barbie dolls, envisioning herself as the real-life version of that impossible ideal. As Paula grew, so did her awareness of the power her appearance held. She was striking in a way that made heads turn, with features that seemed almost sculpted for the camera. But beneath the surface, beauty ran deeper currents. Paula excelled academically, maintaining strong grades throughout school. She had a bubbly, vivacious personality that made people feel drawn to her warmth. Her mother Patsy remembered a compassionate young woman who adored animals, especially her two small dogs, and who genuinely cared about helping others. Paula's original dream had been to become a nurse, to use her empathy and intelligence in service of people in need. To finance her nursing studies in California, Paula turned to modeling. She experimented with different looks, dyeing her hair from dark to blonde, adding extensions, constantly reinventing herself for the camera. She auditioned for Playboy, and while never appearing in the magazine itself, was featured in a video from the Playboy Ultimate Playmate search in 2003. The modeling work led to dancing at gentlemen's clubs across California, a decision that troubled her mother deeply. Patsy noticed changes in her daughter during visits home to Michigan. Paula seemed to be drinking more, embracing a faster lifestyle fueled by the significant money the dancing provided.
And she became an exotic dancer in strip clubs in Michigan and California.
I sat her down one day and I said, "Why are you doing this?" She said, "I make great money." To her, it was glamorous.
Her mother pleaded with her to reconsider, worried about where this path might lead. But Paula was drawn to the expensive things in life, the designer clothes and luxury lifestyle that her income afforded her. Then there was Kevin Klim. Paula met him sometime around 2008, and their relationship moved quickly. To Patsy, Kevin seemed older than Paula, and something about him set off warning bells from their first meeting. Kelly met him at her niece's wedding and later at Christmas, finding him decent enough on the surface, though they never truly connected. But according to family members, the relationship was troubled from the start. Paula's stepfather would later describe their dynamic as volatile, marked by frequent arguments that sometimes turned physical. Court records tell a complicated story. In the summer of 2009, Paula was arrested in California for attacking Kevin with a bottle, though the charges were eventually dropped. That December, Kevin was arrested in Michigan for breaking Paula's nose. Friends claimed Paula had sent text messages expressing fear, saying Kevin was dangerous. Yet despite everything, they stayed together, bound by something neither seemed able to break free from. For New Year's 2010, Paula and Kevin planned a getaway to Las Vegas. But when they found cheaper tickets to Miami for a Lady Gaga concert at the Fontainebleau, they changed course. Miami Beach promised sunshine, music, and the kind of non-stop party atmosphere that suited their lifestyle. They checked into a hotel in trendy South Beach and spent the weekend immersed in the nightclub scene, drinking and dancing their way through the start of a new decade. By the early morning hours of January 3rd, a Sunday, they had been partying non-stop for nearly 2 days. Around 5 in the morning, they arrived at Club Space, a popular after-hours venue in an industrial section of North Miami that stayed open well into the next day. Both were heavily intoxicated when they walked through the doors. What happened inside would become a matter of dispute, with different accounts painting different pictures. According to club management, Paula's behavior grew increasingly uninhibited as the hours passed. She was wearing a revealing dress, and witnesses reported that she began lifting it, dancing provocatively, drawing attention from other patrons. Kevin didn't like what he saw. When he tried to convince her to leave, grabbing her arm and insisting it was time to go, she resisted. She was having the time of her life and had no intention of leaving. The confrontation escalated. Club Space staff intervened, and Kevin was escorted out for causing a disturbance. He claimed he simply got into a cab and returned to their hotel to sleep. Paula remained inside briefly, but less than 30 minutes later, she too was asked to leave. Grainy surveillance footage captured her exit around 7:20 in the morning. 2 club employees escorted her to the door. Behind her, just visible in the black and white video, walked another figure. Who this person was and what their intentions were would become central questions in the investigation that followed. After Paula stepped through those doors, she essentially disappeared. There were no traffic cameras to track her movements, no additional surveillance footage, no cell phone to ping. Her boyfriend had reportedly kept her phone when he left the club. One witness would later come forward, claiming to have seen Paula walking away with an unknown man near the club's parking area, but this account remained unverified. For the next 14 hours, Paula Sladewski's whereabouts remained a complete mystery. When Kevin woke up alone in their hotel room around 11:30 that morning, he initially assumed Paula had stayed out partying. But as the hours passed with no word, concern turned to panic. He checked with hotel staff. He called local hospitals. He walked the streets of South Beach, showing people her photo on his phone. Finally, he reported her missing to police and hired a private investigator named David Wasser to help with the search. Kevin seemed genuinely distraught, almost crying on the phone as he explained the situation to Wasser. He cooperated fully with investigators, sitting through 12 hours of questioning, taking polygraph tests, providing whatever information they requested. While Kevin was searching for Paula, a resident in North Miami, about 12 miles from Club Space, noticed something disturbing. Flames were shooting high into the air from a dumpster in an industrial area near the corner of Northwest 14th Avenue and 130th Street. Christopher Michael called the fire department, watching as crews battled the intense blaze. When firefighters finally extinguished the flames and looked inside, they discovered a nightmare. The body inside was burned so severely that almost nothing remained recognizable. Only some jewelry, body piercings, and dental work provided any hope of identification. It would take until January 6th before dental records confirmed what investigators had begun to suspect. The Jane Doe in the dumpster was Paula Sladewski. Detective Michael Gaudio of the North Miami Police Department took the lead on the investigation, and what he found troubled him deeply.
It's frustrating. I mean, you know, it's the one case that kind of stands out in my career. It's the one that I didn't solve when I was in the detective bureau. It's the one that I didn't be able to give the family a type of closure, you know. So it does bother me. I still think about it still to this day.
The medical examiner determined that Paula had already been deceased when her body was set ablaze. Though the extensive burns made it difficult to determine a definitive cause of death, the evidence pointed to strangulation. There were no knife wounds, no gunshot injuries. Someone had killed her with their bare hands, then transported her body to this remote location and attempted to destroy all evidence of the crime. The location itself was significant. The dumpster sat on a dead-end street in an industrial section that tourists wouldn't know existed. It wasn't a place you stumbled upon by accident. Whoever left Paula there knew exactly where they were going. Naturally, Kevin became the primary focus of the investigation. He was one of the last people known to have seen Paula alive. Their relationship had been marked by domestic violence. They had argued at the club just hours before her murder. But as detectives dug deeper, Kevin's story held together. Cab records confirmed he had left club space and returned to the hotel. Hotel staff verified his presence. The timeline didn't provide enough opportunity for him to have committed the crime, especially given that he had no vehicle and limited knowledge of Miami's geography. Eventually, after exhausting every avenue of investigation connecting Kevin to Paula's death, Detective Gaudio concluded he likely wasn't responsible. That left the haunting question: if not Kevin, then who? The surveillance footage from club space showed security personnel escorting Paula out, with another individual visible in the frame walking behind her. Investigators interviewed every bouncer working that night, checking their timesheets and backgrounds. None emerged as suspects. The club's owner insisted that an unknown man had approached Paula outside the venue and walked away with her, a claim supported by at least one witness. Police eventually released a composite sketch based on this witness account, depicting a heavy-set black or Hispanic male with a goatee. But the sketch led nowhere. No one came forward to identify the man. No additional witnesses materialized to corroborate the sighting. Years have turned into more than a decade, and Paula Sladewski's murder remains unsolved. For her family, the pain has never faded. Her mother, Patsy, wears a necklace containing Paula's ashes every single day, keeping her daughter close to her heart. She struggles with the senselessness of it all, the fact that her daughter traveled to Miami for a concert and never came home. Kelly, Paula's older sister, traveled to Florida multiple times to raise awareness about the case, pleading with anyone who might have information to come forward. She stood at press conferences with tears streaming down her face, describing her sister as full of life and beautiful, someone who cared deeply about everyone around her. The family wanted answers, needed closure, but none came. For Detective Gaudio, now a commander with the North Miami Police Department, Paula's case became the one that got away. In interviews years later, he described it as the most frustrating investigation of his career, the one he couldn't solve. The memory of that burned body in the dumpster haunts him still. He believes the killer was likely a local resident, someone familiar with that specific industrial area, someone who knew they could dispose of evidence there without being seen. Despite the passage of time, he holds on to hope that someone will finally come forward with the information needed to crack the case. Perhaps a conscience weighs heavy after all these years. Perhaps someone who was afraid to speak then might find courage now. The case has been featured on numerous true crime programs over the years, including NBC's Dateline, Investigation Discovery's The Playboy Murders, and America's Most Wanted. In 2024, the Florida Themis Project, a non-profit organization dedicated to raising awareness about unsolved cases, featured Paula's story as part of their advocacy work. A $15,000 reward has been offered for information leading to an arrest. Yet despite all the media attention, despite the pleas from family and investigators, despite the years that have passed, no one has provided the crucial piece of information that could solve this mystery. What makes Paula's case so haunting is the complete absence of answers in those critical hours. She walked out of club space at 7:20 in the morning, visible on camera for just 7 seconds, and then vanished as completely as if the earth had swallowed her whole. No witnesses saw her get into a vehicle. No cameras captured her walking down the street. No one reported seeing anything unusual in the industrial area where her body was found. It's as though she simply ceased to exist in those missing hours, only to reappear as ashes and charred remains in a dumpster fire. Today, Paula's case file sits among the hundreds of unsolved homicides in Miami-Dade County. One more name in a growing list of victims whose killers remain free. But for those who loved Paula, she will never be just another case number. She was a daughter who dreamed of becoming a nurse before the allure of modeling pulled her in another direction. She was a sister who collected Barbie dolls and experimented with makeup as a child. She was a young woman who made choices her family worried about, but who possessed genuine warmth and compassion beneath the glamorous exterior. Her life was cut short at 26, ended in violence and cruelty that serves no purpose and makes no sense. If you have any information about Paula Sladewski's murder, authorities urge you to come forward. You can contact Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers at 305-471-8477 or the North Miami Police Department at 305-891-0924. All tips can be made anonymously. There is no statute of limitations on murder. Someone, somewhere, knows what happened that morning. Someone saw something. Someone heard something. And perhaps, after all these years, that someone is finally ready to speak. Paula's family deserves answers. Justice deserves to be served. And a killer needs to be brought to account for a crime that shocked even hardened investigators with its brutality. Until that day comes, Paula Sladewski's case remains one of Miami's most troubling unsolved mysteries, a haunting reminder that not every story gets the ending it deserves.